particular. Like, what is the purpose? What am I trying to do? Who are giving you keys, giving you gems, creating pipelines to access, talking to influential people, icons, about how they've done it, and sharing the tips so that you can enter into that space. One thing that I do know about marginalized communities is that the pipeline to access is often limited. Now, if you cleaned up on Saturday mornings and your parents played old school music, then this show is for you. Because yes, darlings, I'm back. I'm back with an all-new episode of Sanya on Air. I'm your host, Sanya Hudson, and Sanya on Air interviews celebrities to unpack their pivotal moments and milestones while providing you with pipelines to access. Now, I think that that's super important because in this world of salaciousness, I want to make sure that you have the tools, the resources, the information, and knowledge to get you from point A to point B to point Z. That's if you want to. If you're comfortable with being where you are, child, I'll mind my business and I'll keep it moving. But if you want to leverage your career or your personal life, then this is the platform for you. Now, before I go any further, there's a few things that I need you to do. I need to make sure that you subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, not only subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment, make sure you hit the notification bell. That way, every time I upload an all new Sanya on Air celebrity interview, you'll be the first ones to know. Okay. Now, let me give a super shout out to the Sanya on Air sponsor. Sanya on Air is sponsored by Eden's T-Shirts and More LLC. I'm wearing one of their customized T-shirts. See, Sanya on Air. If you are a business owner or something personal, Eden's T-Shirts and More LLC customizes just about everything. Like I said, this T-shirt, they customize charcuterie boards, passport holders, pens, pencils, pants, panties. I went too far, but you get what I'm saying. They customize just about everything. And guess what? It's Black owned, female Black owned, which is so important in today's climate. So make sure that you head on over to the Eden's T-Shirts and More LLC website, which is located in the description section of this episode, and get your shop on. When I tell you, when you go there, you're going to see one thing that you like. It's going to lead to 2 things, 3 things, 4 things, 5 things, 6 things. Just throw it all in the bag. Just throw it all in the bag. Trust me, you will not be disappointed, especially with the holidays coming around. So if you are a business owner, like I mentioned, or if you just want to customize something personally just for you, make sure you head on over to Eden's T-Shirts and More LLC for all of your customized goods. So today I am having a conversation with Mignon, who stars as Danni in the hit show, the #1 hit show on BET, Tyler Perry's Sistas. Now, who doesn't watch Sistas? I know I do. Fan since day one. And I love the evolution of her character, Danni. It's a love-hate relationship for me. I don't know about you. Some days I love her. I hate her. I want to smack her. I want to give her a hug. I want to sit her down and just say, woo, woo, woo. Let me just give you some information about how you can navigate relationships a little bit better. That's how you know when a character is done well, because you're invested. You feel like you're in that space too, experiencing the same things. I love the relationship that those women share on Sistas. So we're going to be talking about it all. We're going to be talking about her character, Danni. We're going to be talking about her experience as an actor and the themes and messages that we see throughout every single episode, throughout every single season. And then we're going to be talking about the pipeline to access. How does she get in the room? How does she benefit from being in the room? And also, did she help someone else get into the room? So make sure that you stay tuned. We are just going to take a quick commercial break, and I'll be right back with Sanya on Air and Mignon Vaughn. Stay tuned. Eden's T-Shirts and More LLC is a proud Sanya on Air sponsor. Get your customized tumblers, mugs, T-shirts, hoodies, and passport holders for all of my fabulous Sanya on Air international travelers. But let's talk about these passport holders for a moment. Travel in style. with a custom passport holder. This elegant holder not only protects your passport, but also personalizes it with space for up to 4 photos. So make sure you shop Edith's T-shirts and more LLC today. Now back to Sanya on air. Hi, Mignon.
Mignon, hi.
Pronounce it for me again.
Mignon.
Mignon. Thank you, because at first I was going to call you Danni. No, but this is how you know that you are doing it exceptionally well, because I've been watching you on Tyler Perry's Sisters from day one up until last night, and I am such a huge fan. I just want to tell you before we start this conversation, no, thank you for giving us great TV.
Oh, that is so kind. Wow, thank you. Of course.
No problem. So let's just jump right into it, because I know that time is limited and I'm like fanning out. So I just want to make sure that we get through it all. Talk about your character, Danni, on Tyler Perry's hit show, Sistas. How would you describe your character, Danni?
Evolving, for sure. That I think I don't need to really make it super long and drawn out. As someone who's watched the show, she's gone through some serious ups and downs, and she's chosen to, get better and not be bitter. So she's definitely evolving.
Yes, she has definitely evolved. And I think that we've evolved with her as well. Once again, that's how you know that she is a great character, because like I said, as she grows, we're growing with her too. Now let's talk about the sister circle or the village. I love to see the camaraderie amongst the women on the show. What is Danni's connection to the women, and how does she help them be better?
I think Danni is an anti-people pleaser, in the sense that she knows that people are going to find something wrong with what she has to say, because most truth tellers know that people can't handle the truth, but she does it anyway. So she's made peace with the fact that, this person might not accept this might not go over well, but I'm going to say it anyway, because nothing I have to say is probably going to land well, because, most people aren't self-aware. And so I think one thing I like about Danni is that she's self-aware. Like she knows she can have her own BS, and she just wants to keep her friends accountable as well. But what I like about her, she's going to tell them the truth, but also be like, hey, but I also support women's rights and women's wrongs. Like, if you want to do wrong, that's fine. We ride at dawn. But just so you know, like, this is what it is. So that's what I like about her.
And that's why we love her too, because she is such a mirror of so many Black women who currently occupy the space of I'm unapologetically bold and standing in my truth. And she also gives inspiration to other women of color who haven't found their voice or their truth yet, to say it's okay. So once again, your character is just so amazing and phenomenal in this space where Black women are often encouraged to just be seen and not heard. So once again, thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
So how did you go about developing the character of Danni? What did you do?
So when I couldn't afford acting classes, I was watching YouTube videos. And so I was in school and I was in acting classes, but then I just got so broke where I couldn't even afford classes anymore. And so I would watch interviews and talkbacks, and Viola Davis, Meryl Streep, Ben Stiller, they all had some things that really stuck with me. Ben Stiller talked about grounding a big, larger than life character, and just making sure you find the truth no matter what, even though, it's something that's larger than life. And Viola Davis and Meryl Streep spoke to the notion of you advocating for your character. And so that every time I read a script, even if she's doing stuff that I don't agree with and I don't understand, it's me advocating for her. And so I lend to her the parts of myself that can relate to the essential truth of what she's trying to do. Like in season 1, when she told Sabrina to ask Karen to try using, Sabrina and Calvin had an intimate bedroom moment.
I remember.
And I remember reading that, and I was like, Tyler, why did Danni say, I don't understand this? But and it didn't come to me until like days before we shot it. And I realized I was like, oh, Danny's trying to win because her and Zach had just went through this will they, won't they? And so they were just kind of in this weird space. And so this is her just trying to like, one up Zach. And so I was able to ground it in that because I was like, otherwise, like, I don't know how to deliver this line. So, and then when I saw a couple people comment and say, Danny's trying to like get back, I was like, great. So like they get what I was doing. And so it's just finding, the reality of it, no matter how big it is, and advocating for her and not looking at the action itself or the dialogue itself and like, okay, what's the meta message here? And then also my mom and my aunt are a lot like Danny, minus the weed smoking and all that. I like to tell it like it is. And, being a lot of fun and being funny and so
I like that. And I captured a lot because you said you were trying to find the voice for Danny, and I'm glad that you found your voice somewhere on YouTube, listening to, like you said, Viola Davis and Ben Stiller, because oftentimes the internet can be a place of salaciousness. But I'm glad that you found something positive. So that's encouragement for people, because so many people are just saying, you know what, I'm just going to turn off social media, but there's still hope. And you just told us that there's still hope for us all out there. So thank you for that.
It's out there if you look for it. Like, I think a lot of people, we ask for, it's like Jay-Z's question, do you want to have dinner with me for a couple hours or do you want $500,000? I mean, I think most people are smart enough to know that the right answer is to go to dinner with him. But in reality, we just want the 500K because, and I think that's because most of us don't have the wisdom to ask for wisdom.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for wisdom, it's out there. You just got to ask for it.
That's true. So that makes me think, if you could choose any person, dead or alive, to spend 30 minutes just to have a conversation with, who would that person be?
I mean, my first answer is always Jesus, but outside of like that obvious answer, I would say, maybe Harriet Tubman.
Oh, I call myself Harriet Tubman all the time.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, just to have those dizzy spells and to be able to transmute that to God's trying to get messages to me is incredible, because I think that's the truth to weakness in any of our lives. If we just believe that God is good and that sometimes God uses weakness because the enemy won't suspect it. And so by her having those dizzy spells and receiving the messages, those downloads from God, like, that's incredible. Because I mean, I think we're all fighting for some sort of freedom, emotional, spiritual, financial, relational, something. And so she was literally a freedom fighter. She was literally setting captives free. And that's why, again, my first answer was Christ, because, where he is, there's freedom. But I think someone who literally came and whose purpose was to set people free and kind of be that depiction of divinity in that way, I think talking to her, and then also being a Black woman and then a slave, whenever I feel sorry for myself, it's like, I mean,
right. It could be worse. I
could have had it that hard.
Could be worse.
Yeah. So maybe Harriet.
Got it. And I spent some time thinking about what I wanted to ask you, but I love how conversations develop organically. And you mentioned that you would want to be in a room having a conversation with Harriet Tubman, and you mentioned what she was fighting for. What are you currently fighting for?
Oh, so in all vulnerability, right now, I am fighting to stay the course, right? And to continue upon my journey and clarity and understanding, because this industry, from the outside, it looks so exciting. It's like the Wizard of Oz. Like, I love that Wicked just came out, and it kind of touches on, again, how the wizard is a phony in this industry. honestly is like Oz and the Wizard. So much of it is smoke and mirrors, and it can be disillusioning. And
Mm-hmm.
so I am really fighting hard to keep my head above that fray and stay connected to that divine purpose in the way that I need to find my like alchemy the way Harriet did, like using
Mm-hmm.
those Disney spells for to receive downloads, like wherever that weakness is, like the scripture that says, "In His weakness, in my weakness, His strength is made perfect." I need to kind of find that so I can stay the course and fulfill everything I was sent here to do. So, like, truthfully, just keeping my head above water right now, because I mean, it's kind of dead in the industry right now because of all the strikes and it's just hard, man. It's just
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think no matter what industry you're in, just living in today's space, it is very, very difficult. Like I just had to take off the entire day today just to refocus, refuel, so I can face tomorrow with a knowing my purpose. Because
Yeah.
yesterday was hard. It was hard. So, what do
Yeah.
you do in order to stay the course? Because, like I said, I take a day off. What do you do?
So it's like a toolbox. You got to have a lot of different tools. You can't use a hammer when you need a screwdriver, right? Sometimes it's as simple as self care, um, therapy, the neurocycle, taking the day off, watching old funny movies, trying to find inspiration, taking a trip, fasting, like fasting and prayer. Um, but what right now I'm in a space where I'm starting to understand that sometimes you have to walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Like you just got
Mm,
to walk through it, and you got to be
mhm.
okay with that.
Yeah.
And then once you get through, you'll see the light at the end of the tunnel. But you just
Mhm.
gotta. Sometimes you just gotta walk through it. And so right now, I'm making peace with not knowing.
Mm.
I'm sitting in the difficulty. It's I think in I want to say maybe the yogic tradition. I'm not a big yoga girl. I mean, but there's a term called the journey of the warrior. No, yeah, I think it's called the journey of the warrior, and it's basically just sitting through that hot loneliness and that difficulty. And so right now, I'm trying not to avoid it and escape from it and numb it and just like,
Right.
okay, what are you communicating to me right now? Because you won't go away. So
No, but
right now, I'm just trying to accept.
I'm glad you mentioned that because a lot of people pray for strength, and little
Yeah.
do you know that God is going to give you those trials and tribulations in order to make you stronger to get that strength. People don't
Yeah.
understand that this is a part of the process. So I wanted to really briefly touch upon this because this is the holidays and I know people are going through it, and
Yeah.
we're at the tail end of a few years after the pandemic, but there's still so much residue, and I just want to make sure that we're giving positive words and enlightenment to people who are listening who may think that tomorrow may never come. This is a
Oof.
testimony
Yeah.
that it will.
Yeah. Oh gosh. For the people who feel that way, I'm begging you not to give up
Yeah.
because I'm a firm believer that the trials, the tribulations are evidence that you have something valuable.
Mm.
Nobody robs an empty house.
Mm.
And,
Mm.
and even if they rob an empty house, they're going to have to bust through the walls to get the copper pipes out. Like they're going in because there's something valuable. So
Mm.
everything you're facing in life is not only evidence that you're valuable, but also it is the spiritual gem of the universe that you're in. Like anyone who lifts weights knows that weight and heaviness is how you get stronger. Your
Yep.
muscles literally tear and then rebuild stronger. Like, but you got
Hmm.
to go through that tearing. And so,
Yeah.
whatever you're dealing with, I mean, some stuff is generational, some stuff is ancestral. Like, that's a very real thing that, for instance, people who have parents who are alcoholics have like a way higher chance of becoming alcoholics themselves. So some people never touch it or, what have you. So everything you're going through is not your fault. Some things, have nothing to do with you. But it's like that meme that's been going around social media. You might have been given this mountain so you can show people that it can be moved. So don't give up. Like, you're here for a reason. There's some way that you're going to change the world. And it doesn't
Yes.
have to be, you're the first, person from Kansas on the moon. Like, it doesn't have to be this huge thing. It could be as simple as, you change the environment of your office or your school, what have you. So we need you, basically. We need your story. Imagine if Oprah gave up. Imagine if my boss, Tyler Perry, gave up.
Right.
Think about all the people who've been affected by him. Yeah, go ahead.
So true. And you're always where you're supposed to be. And you were meant to play the role of Danni. Did you audition or read for another character, or was your heart and mind set on Danni?
So what's funny is I got the role before I never had any representation, right? And so I see the breakdown on Actors Access, and I'm like, this got to be it, because I had just gone through one of the valleys of the shadow of death. Because in life, you're going to go through many. Sorry, there's going to be quite a few wilderness seasons in life, but I had just gone through that, and that was the light at the end of the tunnel. I saw that, but the breakdown was for the Oval, actually, and so I submitted for that, and I didn't hear anything, and then the casting associate reached out and was like, there's actually a role we think you would be perfect for that we want you to audition for, and with Danni. And I didn't audition for any other role. Like Ebony Obsidian, shout out to Ebony Obsidian, who just had the premiere for the 6888. She auditioned for Sabrina and like another character. Like, a lot of us were, they tried to see us in different ways, but me was always Danni.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice. Well, that's how you know that it was meant for you. So now that you know that it was meant for you, what did your character Danni teach you about yourself?
A lot. I think honestly the most important thing that Danni taught me, not just about myself, I honestly think for me, the most important thing she taught me was like, I understand my mom so much more now.
In what way?
Like, because I think a lot of us had that strong Black mama. And it was just like, oh, girl, like, you're not good with the emotional stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, could you try a little tenderness? Like, but playing Danni helped me understand my mom, because with Danni, even when she went through things that were difficult, like, for instance, that stuff with Jonah, her friends kind of like tried to like assign blame to her in a certain way, like, hey, well, what you doing anyway, like, kind of, we did this stuff in college, like, why are you doing this right now? And not that that's not true, but we tend to kind of victim blame in our society, and I feel like that is kind of connected to how we see Black women, and Black women not being seen as vulnerable, not being seen as needed to be protected, because everyone sees us as strong. And I like to say we're treated like the mules of society. Yeah. Because mules can't procreate. So a farmer saves the horse. The farmer will save the donkey's back, but, push the mule to death. And my mom, she literally can't sit still. Like, she works so hard, and she's the most reliable, dependable person in my family, in my life. But sometimes she's just kind of difficult. And I think playing Danni helped me understand where that difficulty came from. Because there's a study that shows as early as 5 years old, Black girls are seen as less innocent. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, it's crazy to adultify a girl, like a 5-year-old. Like, if you told me 10, fine, but 5? Yeah. This kid can't even read yet, you know what I mean? And so, and then my mom was born in the 60s, and she saw King die, and her parents are depression babies, and she's dark skinned, and she grew up in the South. And so it just made me have a lot more compassion for Black women who are not always the softest, right? And I think there needs to be more of that. Yeah. Especially on screen. So it can kind of be reflected back in real life. Like, for instance, have you ever seen Superman save a Black woman from a burning building? Or Batman? No. Right? No. So you never see, like, whenever superheroes are doing all this saving, you never see a Black woman being saved. Yeah. People don't think about us in that sense. And not that we need someone to swoop in, but everyone needs help.
Yeah.
Everyone needs tenderness and compassion. And I think Black women are often forgotten about when it comes to that type of humanity. We're always looked to provide for others,
Yeah.
rather than the other way around.
Yeah. And I know that I'm in that current space of my life. I'm 52 years old, and now I'm looking for spaces to be vulnerable in, because unfortunately, society, the workforce, all those things combined didn't really afford me the opportunity oftentimes to be soft and pink.
Right.
So I show up oftentimes as Danni, and my friends are like, listen, I need you to be more like Sabrina.
Yeah.
But I don't know how, because my mom was tough as nails. And I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, because it really prepared me for the world that I'm in. So, once again, another gem that you drop. But Tyler Perry is magnificent of creating the theme of friendship amongst women on the show. Talk about that. Like, are you all friends in real life, or is this just for the camera?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the funny thing is, like, we talk about all the time how we know that we struck gold.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know that this is not a thing
Yeah.
to be this close knit. And so, like, I know we're going to stay in touch even when the show ends. And so, I mean, like, we have gone on trips together. I mean, weddings. No babies yet. Deval's the only baby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, Anthony, duh. Anthony and Deval are on ones. None of the girls have had babies yet, but um, you know, parents have been lost. Family members, like, it's we're really lucky. We're really
Yeah.
lucky. I mean, even when we have fights and arguments, we make up, we talk about it. It's a real relationship. It's not like everything is perfect. So sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
do disagree, but we come back together. It's real family. And I don't
You
know,
can
we're lucky.
tell.
We're blessed.
You
Yeah.
can tell. And I was going to talk about how the show defies cultural stereotypes, which you just mentioned it. Even though sometimes the characters on the show may disagree, there comes a moment where you all get together and you resolve your issues. You talk through it. And that's something that we as women of color, we need to see, because once again, we don't see Superman rescuing us from a burning building. We don't see Batman carrying us out of a burning car. Sistas gives us the examples that we need to see to remember that we are loving beings, we are vulnerable, and there's loyalty amongst the sisterhood. So you all are doing an amazing job.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's talk about what's one thing about Danni's storyline that you did not like at all?
I didn't like the way the dichotomy of her moral failings was posited next to Preston's. I didn't like that. I didn't like that she got beat and spat on. Because, like, there are a lot of women who have a hot girl summer or go through a hot girl phase without that ever happening. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that I think that I wouldn't have written that. However, the amount of people that were moved by that part of her storyline that said, hey, me too, was like, all right, that's why, two heads are better than one. That's why multiple people create a story, because no, I wouldn't have written that. Thank God that hasn't been my experience, and won't be. Amen. But
Amen.
but I think, yeah, I feel like her and Preston's dynamic, it was always kind of positioned to kind of look like it was her fault, even when things weren't her fault.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, you got to have one guy on the show that's like the good guy, which I think is fine. But I don't think in order for someone to be the good guy, someone else has to necessarily be the bad guy. But
okay.
yeah,
that was a storyline that you did not like. But what storyline or narrative do you want audiences to take away by watching the character Danni? What do you want us to remember?
my hope every time I read the script is like her humanity, because she is funny, right? That's the other thing. People who are funny, just because someone's funny doesn't mean they're a clown,
Right.
And so again, she's a person, she's a human. Yes, she's a character, but for me, the most important thing is her humanity, especially her humanity as a Black woman, especially as a strong Black woman. That's what I
Mm.
want people to take away. Is to, even women like that, give the benefit of the doubt. Even
Yeah.
women like that, when you're interacting with them, I want you to imagine, maybe she just had a difficult phone call. Maybe something just happened to her. The same way we can kind of do that for people who are obviously vulnerable. I want people to do that for the Black woman who seems to have it together too.
Yeah.
And for themselves. For
Yes.
yourself,
Yes. Yeah. But Danni is really showing us evolution and patience, because where she started is not where she currently is. And she's starting to become more self aware and seeking help to say, I want to be better. And once again, it sends a message to audiences: be patient with us, with Black women. We still have your back. Just be patient with us. We're going to come out through the other side. There's so many positive messages and themes and Sisters. And I think that's why audiences stay tuned in every single week. But let's talk about pipelines to access, because I think that that's super, super important, because we want to know how you got there, how you stay in the room, and also has anyone else benefited from your success. So, how has Sisters opened up other opportunities for you?
Like I was able to start, my podcast. Like that's one of the main things for me. I pipeline to access, baby. You better talk to the one who made you, because like I said, I had no agent, I had no manager.
Mm.
I don't have like an uncle or aunt or a best friend who, you know what I mean? Like it was literally all by the mercies and grace of God that, these doors were open for me. Um, I'll I'll let casting know when one of my friends are auditioning for something. But ultimately, it's just not my decision. Like we don't really have that kind of pull on the show, which I think is a good thing, right? Because I mean, nepotism can get tricky at some point. On one hand, it makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you hire the people you trust? Why wouldn't you hire your friends, family, so on and so forth? But you don't necessarily want it to only be the people within these circles, because,
Mhm.
like, we need that variety. So, um, yeah, like my podcast, I think, is the most immediate uh, uh, thing that has been able to come about from the show that's outside of the show.
Got it. You're the first person who attributed your pipeline to access to God. Everyone has always attributed to some sort of worldly being. So I'm glad that your perspective was different. And this is why I was very, very excited about this conversation. Because when audiences see you on Sisters at playing Danni, I follow you on social media and I'm just like, she's so different. Your, yeah, your layers, the fabric. I mean, it is so intentional. It is so motivational. And I was just like, I got to have her on my platform because people need to see the many layers of her and not just Danni. I also, with my daughter, most recently, I saw the latest film that you're in, the Christmas film. Talk about it. I
That was
saw it.
like that was a little film that we shot it in Shreveport post COVID. Like we shot it. It came out last year, right?
Well, I just saw it last week.
I think it came out last. Oh, child! Like I'm pretty sure we shot it 2022. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, like in Shreveport, and so that's still kind of the thick of COVID. And you know how Louisiana had the tax credit.
Hmm.
But it left. So Shreveport had studios, and then the tax credit left, and then there was COVID. So our film was one of the first films to come back to Shreveport. Um, but like it was like we shot it all across like different areas of Louisiana. We went to Nacogdoches for some of the for like the French Quarter stuff,
Uh-huh.
and we were in Dixieland, Louisiana. At one point, this one couple tried to call the police on us, even though we
Oh,
had permits. Yeah, girl. Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Oh,
It was like,
wow.
and it was
Oh,
our last day of filming too. And when they pulled out in their little CRV to try to like get things shut down, I ran to because it was cold. I ran to the van. I was like, I'm not doing this. I
oh
mean, in the
no.
middle of it, we were about to film a scene, and she starts questioning me and my co-star. I'm like, ma'am, I don't.
I'm over it.
It was so crazy. But
I'm so
yeah, it
over
was.
it. I'm so over it because, just to hear that those things still happen in 2024,
Yeah.
it ain't all marshmallows. Sometimes we want to put a little hot chocolate in there too. It's ridiculous. But we didn't even say the name of the film. It's called Never
Oh
Alone
yeah.
for Christmas.
Yeah.
And talk about your character, because I saw some similarities between that character and Danni, the boldness, the how she shows up in relationships. But tell my audience, what is Never Alone for Christmas about? Even though the title kind of gives it away, but it really doesn't.
Yeah. It's just about these two young people who are craving connection and family, who get together really quickly and then have to kind of go through this trial by fire in their relationship. It has to be tested from the outside and from within. And then they come back stronger. Oh, I think I might have spoiled it. So. Darn it.
Well, they don't know.
You got me. No. But yeah, I mean, it's just like a really sweet Christmas movie. And like, Never Gonna Be Alone for Christmas is a banger.
It is.
Like, that song is like, when I first heard it, I was like, this is a banger. I could not sing my verse because the musicality was actually very sophisticated. I was like, "Ooh, child, y'all
Wait,
should have
you
gave
sing?
this to me a while earlier."
You sing?
I do sing, but like not professionally in a really long time.
I get you.
So like I can like, and that was something I was talking about with my team a couple years ago. I was like, I need to get a vocal coach so I can kind of, because that's one of my dreams too, is to at some point do like a musical, maybe even cut, like, how Queen Latifah did like one jazz album, like do like one, you know what I mean? Just use up all of my gifts so that when I die, I know that I poured it all out. But yeah.
Got it. So I don't know if I'm correct, but Never Alone for Christmas, you wrote, directed, and produced. Am I wrong?
No, indeed. No, not
okay.
No.
You just starred in it.
Yeah,
okay.
No, yeah. Kenny, our director, wrote and directed it.
Nice. Do you have any aspirations? I know you said to sing, but to be behind the camera, do you want to do anything like that?
Yeah, I actually went to film school, and I have a short film that won. Yeah, it won Best Director at Women in Film and Television in Atlanta. I wrote, directed that, produced it, starred in it, craft serviced it, catered it, like cast it, like you name it. Because I mean, it was an indie short film. That was a great time in my life. So yeah, I actually have more things coming down the pipeline. Actually, this year I was trying to get something in the can, but again, the strikes and just everything that's going on, it now kind of has to be postponed, and we're working through it and like kind of reconceptualizing it. So yeah, I write, I direct. Producing, I don't particularly like to do, but I'm good at it. Yeah.
Nice. So we're about to end this conversation, but if there is one role that you dream of playing, what is that role?
It's honestly one of my films. It's one of my films, but I know that there are some characters that I would love to play. Like, for instance, like I'd love to play Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing, Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing. If you've seen the film version with Denzel Washington, Emma Thompson plays Beatrice. Yeah, so that's one role. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing a good biopic, a real good one. Like if I could get me a Ray, If I could get a Ray under my belt, that would be cool. Or some type of historical based on a true story, like Ida B. Wells would be great.
Mm,
Someone like her. Yeah, like, or someone even more unknown, who we should know. Like, for instance, I love what Tyler has done with the 688. Like, when I tell you I had no clue, literally no clue. So I'm so excited to see it.
yeah.
Um, Again, shouts out to my castmate Ebony and Tyler. That looks beautiful. Yeah, so something historical like that, Beatrice, but then of course mostly my own characters.
Got it. Got it. So, one final question. In this climate, in this space that we are currently in with this new election, what advice or words of encouragement do you have for women of color?
God does not play
Mm.
about women of color.
Hmm.
God don't play about women, let's be clear. He does not play about women. So do not fret, do not worry, do not fear, don't be afraid. Uh, you made it through the last time, and
Okay.
your ancestors survived. If you're Japanese, your ancestors survived the internment camps of World War II. Yeah,
Mm.
World War II. Like, if you're Latina, your ancestors survived all of the foolish like fights that were going on in the West. Like, if
Mm.
you're black, I mean slavery, do I have to say? Or if you're African black, like the colonization, like we have survived. That's what we do, right? The
Mm.
strongest infant, the infant with the highest survival rate is the black female baby.
Mm. Mm.
It's literally written on our DNA. So like you are made of the same stuff as the stars. You're so strong just by nature, literally
Got
by
it.
nature. So
Got it. I needed to hear that. I definitely needed to
yeah,
hear that. And I'm sure someone else did, because life throws us so many curveballs and sometimes we forget. And I always want, whenever I'm having any type of conversation, I want to make sure that I'm leaving with something and they're leaving with something. So thank you for leaving my audience with a whole lot of something. I
yeah.
really appreciate your time. I respect and
Thank you for
value
having
your
me.
energy, and keep on doing what you're doing in this space, because we are watching and we are applauding you. Job
Thank
well
you.
done. Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much. Thank you so much.
You take care. I'm going to log off of this and finish
Okay.
with this conversation. Take care. Bye bye. Oh my gosh, there you have it. Amazing conversation. I couldn't ask for a better conversation. This is what I love. I love that when you see characters on television and film and you're listening to their music, that they supersede our wildest expectations. And I told you, when I watch her on Sisters, I'm like, there's something more to her. Every woman just has so many different layers. And I started to stay connected to her on her Instagram page for the past couple of years, I think pre-pandemic. As soon as Sisters started airing on BET, that's when I started following her on social media. And I started to notice the different layers of her. And it is once again a reminder to the world at large. The Black woman has so many layers, so many complicated layers, so many vulnerable layers, so many strong layers, so many layers of joy. And it is our responsibility to be patient. So please watch this conversation or listen to this conversation a second time, a third time. Make sure that you share it with your family and friends, because she's much more than what you see as Danni on Tyler Perry's Sisters. So thank you so much for tuning in. This has been another amazing edition of Sanya on Air. Make sure that you like, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the notification bell for all new Sanya on Air conversations, where I unpack celebrity pivotal moments and milestones, and we talk about pipelines to access. Take care.